Jennifer, what is on your mind? Jennifer, thanks for being a member.
Hi, Charlie. I am Jewish and also a believer in Jesus, and I'm going home to New York to
Wonderful.
visit my family. All of my family members are Jewish and very left on the political spectrum, and I am very far right, and I'm the only believer. And I'm unsure how to navigate the waters. It's been a year since I've been home, and obviously a lot has changed. So I feel like I'm going into hostile territory, and I wish to make a good impression for my faith.
Well, first of all, God bless you. And so let me ask you, are you visiting first your parents, and number two,
Yes,
okay, that matters. That's not just cousins, because the Bible is very
yes.
clear about how you deal with parents versus just other random relatives. So I'm going to comment on that from a biblical perspective. And then number two, are they either serious about their faith and or do they care about Israel?
Great questions. They are not serious about their faith. It's more of a traditional Jewish background, cultural
Mm-hmm.
New Yorkers, grew up in New York City. And they do care about Israel, but it's nothing I ever knew of growing up. I didn't know what Israel was. So obviously it wasn't that big on the importance list. And my brother will also be there. Um, and he is not concerned, I don't think. He's just more political than they've been watching mainstream media for 70 years.
So here is my take. Number one is that I would try to have some baseline and saying, look, we're not going to do any politics. Now that might not be well received. And let me tell you why, especially with your parents. As you know, in the Ten Commandments, the fifth commandment is honor your mother and father so that you may live long in the land of which you are in. We are called to honor our parents. It doesn't say, hey, only honor them if you have the same politics, or only honor them if you see the world the same way. But number two, as someone who has also found Yeshua, Jesus Christ, if that does come up, it says in the scriptures, be equipped to have an answer if you are questioned, but do so in love and constantly try to diffuse. If there's provocation, say, guys, I'm not here to debate. I'm not here to, have a combative thing. Let's have a sweet time together. I honor you as my parents, and let's find other things to talk about. At the same time, if you feel comfortable, because look, in some Jewish households, they're notoriously known for having very contentious discussions. In fact, there's a very good argument to be made. I got this from Yaron Brook, actually, from the Ayn Rand Institute, even though I think he's wrong on a lot of stuff. Very smart point, and he's Israeli. He once said one of the reasons why Jewish kids tend to be a little more advanced when it comes to reading and writing is because you sit at the table at like the age of 2 or 3 at a Jewish meal, and you have to defend your position and your point, and if not, your uncle would just say that's stupid. You almost have to reason at a young age. I don't know if you can sympathize with that or not, Jennifer.
Yes, I can.
Yes, and so it's built into Jewish culture that you better come with a good idea and a good argument. If not, the adult will not just treat you as a kid. It'll be you got to really kind of fasten and sharpen your reason. So, Jennifer, I'm going to pray for you. I know that this is very difficult, but the Lord is with you. And read your Bible going into that situation. And I'll leave you with a Bible verse. 1 Corinthians 16:13. Be on guard, stand firm in the faith, and be courageous and be strong. And Jennifer, send me an email how it goes, and maybe the Holy Spirit will be at work. God bless you.
Thank you.
All right, Anthony. Anthony, what is on your mind? Thank you for being a member. What's up?
Hey, Charlie, what's going on? So I have a question because not many people understand what goes on in New York. Trump is meeting with Hochul today, our governor, and I know one of the things on the docket is this pipeline that goes through the New England states that he wants to have come through New York to help lower costs by $5,000 a month or a year, whatever it came out to be. The issue is Hochul and the previous governor, Cuomo, have made sure that no fracking, no pipelines will come through. And come next year, any new houses built in New York State cannot have natural gas hookup. And then a couple years later, new buildings can't have natural gas hookup. So how does the EPA and can Trump do anything to override all these? And I know they're state level, but what can they do? Because New York has a ton of natural gas.
Yes, it
and
does.
it could
And
help us
it's a great
drastically.
question. It is, look, if a state doesn't want to frack, it is going to be a state's right decision. However, and it is a big however, there's a fair amount, and this is where I think Trump has some leverage, of national forest in New York, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's all state forest or national forest, but national forest is, of course, governed by the Department of Interior. So there, I mean,
Right.
there is a major. So the Adirondack Mountains, I think, is largely state governed, but there
Correct.
might be.
Yes, because that's a state park.
Yeah, I think there are some national forests nearby. I could be wrong. With that being said, is that Kathy Hochul should rescind the moratorium on fracking because it would create so many jobs for the people in New York. Look what it's happening in Pennsylvania, and I think it is an insult and a tragedy that New York is not doing the same thing. Anthony, thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Let's go to the war on liquid natural gas is just unbelievable. Christine, thank you for being a member. Members.charliekirk.com. What's on your mind?
Hi, Charlie. I was super happy to be at AmFest in December. It was an absolutely electric time. I am originally from Pennsylvania, and I have lived in northern Arizona for over 30 years.
Wow.
When I first moved here, the state was red. And in 30 years, it has gone south. Is Scott Pressler available to leave Wisconsin and come to Maricopa County and help us out?
Well, yeah. I mean, we also have Turning Point here as well. So
No, I know. I mean, you guys are amazing in everything you're doing. I am blown away by what you've created in such a short amount of time. But what can we do to get fair elections within that county, which tends to turn the entire state?
yeah, well, first I will say there is hope, and I agree with you that it has gone south, and we need to kind of turn this around. But let's look at everything that we accomplished this last cycle. It was President Trump's best ever performance in the state of Arizona, a 5.5-point victory, almost 200,000 votes over Kamala Harris. We are full speed ahead to win back the governor's race, the attorney general, and the secretary of state's race. And I think we're going to turn this into the Florida of the West. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to be pouring a lot of money in to this state and a lot of attention and a lot of ballot chasing. People say, Charlie, what's your plan for the midterms? My number one plan is to defend our home, is we're going to get a lot of attention here in Arizona. We have a great following here in Arizona. No, I'm not running for governor. People keep on asking for that. In fact, there was a poll that came out. We haven't talked about this on the program that showed that I was in first place if there was a straw poll for governor. It was really something else. And I'm not running. People say, oh, you know, you should run. I said, I'm running Turning Point USA and Turning Point Action doing the show. But to answer your question, we're going to continue to chase votes and to register voters and to turn Arizona into a red paradise. If I had nothing else going on, it, of course, would be somewhat tempting to run for governor alongside Byron and Vivek, because I think Arizona could kick the tail of Florida and Ohio. Are you kidding me? I mean, you want to go be a Florida man in the I-5 corridor or Orlando, or do you want to go live in beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona? I mean, no offense to Ohio, but you'd be lucky if the sun comes out once in February or March. There is so much untapped potential in Arizona. There again, I'm not running for governor or anything, but the lack of vision that some of these candidates have for Arizona, we should become the AI super capital of the American West. Number one, number two, we should be the desalination capital of the world. We could fix our water program overnight. Number three, we need to build like 3 nuclear plants. Number four, work with the federal government to purchase Rocky Point. Not a joke. We need a coastline. Buy it from Mexico, extend Arizona, and by the way, Mexico can get Tucson back. And I'm half kidding. Thank you so much. What's the next question? Beatrice, what's on your mind? Thanks for being a member. Members.charliekirk.com.
Hi, Charlie. Can you hear me?
Yes. What's on your mind? Thanks for being a member.
Hi. First, so I have a almost 6-month-old, and I mean, I've just been super anxious about having to go back to work and everything. So I was just wondering, for the future, does President Trump have any plans for like maternity leave or anything like that, as far as like making it potentially better?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen in this bill. I do recommend, homeschooling your kids. I know it might be really tough. So Beatrice, this is a sad state of affairs, and you are a victim of a larger economic problem. So I don't mean to pry, but Is it
Yeah.
one of those things where you have to work in order to support your family with your husband or your partner? Am I fair to say that?
Yeah, correct.
That-
Yeah, we're in California. If that
Yeah.
changes anything.
So
as well.
this is so important. And Beatrice,
Yeah.
here's the problem. And you are a perfect example of this, because I would imagine you would rather not work than work. Is that fair?
Correct.
Yeah. But of course, staying at home is working. Everybody, this is
Yeah.
the kicker. In 1985, you could support a family of 4 in America with 36 weeks of labor. In 2025, it requires 56 weeks of labor. That's more than 52 weeks, and that's for one person. What does that mean? Elizabeth Warren, believe it or not, wrote the best book. And Beatrice, if you want some light reading, you could read it. This was like 15 years ago. It was called The Two-Income Trap. Beatrice, I think it is wrong that we are forcing new mothers back into the workforce because our economic model is so screwed up. I say that as a conservative. There is nothing more noble than raising your kids. There is nothing more noble than raising your children. And so incomes are not keeping up enough to be able to raise kids the way you want to. And so instead you have to do daycare and all that. So here's the only thing that I would recommend, Beatrice, and just my one call to action. Do whatever you possibly can to try to cost save, try to not work all the time to be there to raise your child. That is time you'll never get back. I know it's so hard, and I know because of the cost of living and because of inflation, it's difficult, but that is my piece of advice. I have pushed for paid family leave for quite some time. I think we should have it. And look, there's a lot of work from home options as well, home office, things of that nature. God bless you, Beatrice, and thank you for being a member. Let's send her a signed hat, Daisy. With the stock market at record highs, are you prepared for the next downturn? Corrections can be unforgiving. Smart investors know diversification is the key to financial security. Noble Gold Investments make it easy to diversify with gold. With over $2 billion in sales, Noble Gold has helped thousands of Americans add gold to their portfolios. Open a qualified account today and receive 2 5-ounce silver America the Beautiful coins as a thank you. NobleGoldInvestments.com. Don't let the next correction catch you off guard. NobleGoldInvestments.com. Okay, Ashton. Ashton, thank you for being a member. Ashton, what is on your mind? And please unmute yourself.
Hey, can you hear me?
Ashton, yes, how are you? Thanks for being a member.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I just had a real quick question. So just for people, I mean, I consider myself more of a strict constitutionalist, believing that just the Constitution is the law of the land and that kind of general viewpoint. What would you say is the best way to kind of communicate that when you're talking with people who would be more like performing of big government, specifically when people are like bringing forth the argument that the country is so big now, there's so many people that it's too large just be governed by the Constitution, and then sort of the 3 branches of government that you need to have more of these federal agencies involved in that process?
Yeah, so it's a good question. The person who's asking it doesn't understand human nature. So the Constitution was not written for the times. It was written to stand the test of time. The Constitution, first and foremost, alongside the Declaration, and Dr. Larry Arnn in his book, The Founder's Key, talks about this, that the Declaration and the Constitution are one document in the same, is first and foremost an analysis, an argument on human nature. It was about the order of things, as the classics would say. You see, every founding father was studied in the classics of Socrates and Plato and Aristotle and Aquinas. They knew their great ideas and their great thinkers. So the Constitution has eternal truth within it. The eternal truth that not one man should govern. The Constitution spreads power over time, and it spreads power over land. In fact, it gives states rights. It diffuses power in very unique ways. And so, Ashlyn, I'm not able to kind of give you the entire Constitution speech that I would like to for the sake of time, but here's what I can direct you to, is that the best of all the Hillsdale online courses is the Hillsdale online course, Intro to the Constitution. In fact, Ryan can attest to this. I have been studying it again the last couple of days. I re-listen and retake the Hillsdale online course on Constitution 101 once a year. And Ashton, you'll realize the profundity and the brilliance of what our founding fathers authored. Because in order to have a free government, you must have a form and a structure that respects and responds to the idea that liberty is not man's idea, but it is God's idea. The Constitution is the greatest political document ever written. And it is the longest lasting of its kind, by the way, because it was not just written for, what happened in 1780, but for human beings everywhere. That is why the First Amendment does not just apply to writing letters across the Atlantic, but it also applies to tweets that you send out or Facebook posts. Because human nature does not change, even though times do. Let's go to Brad. Brad, thank you for being a member. Members.charliekirk.com. What is on your mind?
Hey, Charlie. Thank you for all the work that you're doing everywhere. Fantastic stuff. I've got a high schooler nearby who wants to start a chapter, and he has approached a couple of teachers that he thought might be conservative. It's interesting that there's only one or two that he can identify, because this is one of the most conservative counties in Colorado.
What county?
But
El
he's
Paso?
having trouble finding a sponsor. Both have declined because they're fearful of reprisal from other staff. So what would you suggest? How can he move forward?
What county is he in? I'm just curious.
Douglas County in Colorado.
Okay. So a couple things. Number one, obviously don't give up. Number two, though, this is largely why at our high school program, we are renaming and rebranding the Turning Point High School chapters, which will still be that in practice, to calling them Club America. It'll be a lot harder for high school teachers to deny them. I think you can resonate the wisdom behind that, and the high school department has been pushing for that for a while. And it's nothing against Turning Point, but you get it. You're 15, 16 years old. These teachers are skittish. And so they will be Club America chapters brought to you by Turning Point USA, which I think is brilliant. And it'll be a lot harder for these teachers to kind of say no to that. I wish I had better advice other than he has a constitutional right to charter a chapter of his choosing. I think he should appeal to the administration, appeal to somebody, say, hey, can just some teachers sign on to this? And this is a culture of intimidation. Our Turning Point USA Young Patriots, they experience this on a daily basis. But I'd love to send a note of encouragement to him, and also maybe a signed book. Last thing I'll say is this, is that even if it doesn't work out, the process and the difficulty that he has to experience will mature him and will make him a better, stronger young man as he grows up. Meaning this will be a phenomenal experience for him. And so I know...
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, please. I'm getting a lot of people in my ear. Please, what'd you say?
Oh, just totally agreeing. Absolutely. That struggle is going to instill in him drive and perseverance, and make him a better man.
And I will reiterate this. There is a great quote at Hillsdale College, but it's not their quote, but they use it. Strength rejoices in the challenge. So tell him that in the challenge, you should be rejoicing. This will make you understand the world is not an easy place with safe spaces and cookies and milk and trigger warnings. And even if it doesn't work out, he'll have a great Turning Point USA community. And finally, we'd love to have him come to our Student Action Summit. I want to just throw the graphic up on screen here as we are having our next member. What is our next member name? Let me see here. Bob, not Bo. Bob, thank you for, sorry, they wrote Bo, but they meant Bob. Bob, thank you for being a member. I hope to see you on Monday in Oconomowoc. What is on your mind?
Yeah, I'm happy you brought it up because, here in the state of Wisconsin, we are definitely red through and through, except for Dane County and Milwaukee County, obviously. And it's just kind of crazy that, our legislature is Republican, but our Supreme Court right now is, 4-3 Democratic. And now that she's leaving, we've got to get Schimmel across the line, because if we allow that Supreme Court, and they're going to gerrymander the districts, and we might lose Wisconsin forever, because they're going to get that legislature over to, a liberal legislature, and all the think tank in Dane County is just going to, infect the rest of or have the power to infect the rest of the state.
Super quick. I have a question for you, Bob. What percentage of the Trump faithful people that you know are aware and planning to vote on this spring election?
100% of the people that I know.
That's a good sign. That's a great sign, Bob. That
Yeah.
gives me hope.
Well, yeah. But I think more people, it's just so hard to get people to go out for elections like this. Thankfully, I have the Turning Point Action app. I have Commit 100. Scott Pressler here doing his thing is amazing to have, but it's still just where we had a lot of young people, thanks to you and your organization, that went out and voted for Trump. It's harder to get them to understand how important it is on the state level. So that's the big thing. I have a bunch of 20-year-olds. I have a 20-year-old son, and I just every one of his friends I'm talking to, and it's just trying to get them to go vote. For something they don't hear a bunch about is the hump to get over.
Very good. Well, thank you, Bob. Hope to see you on Monday in Oconomowoc. God bless. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Final question of the day, of the week, is Ted. By the way, if you guys want to register to the event, one more time, throw it up. tpaction.com/townhall. tpaction.com/townhall. Ted, you're the final question. Make it quick.
Hi, Charlie. Calling from British Columbia again. Spoke last week. Today, Canada got a new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, former governor of the Bank of Canada, the Bank of England. We also now may likely have a federal election before May, where another leader may take over, the conservative leader, Pierre Poilievre. If you were advising either of these men on their negotiations with Trump on the current tariff war, what would you say?
If I was advising the Canadian side, so what I would say, I like Ezra's idea. I would try to bring both our countries closer together. Number one, I would advise them to try to expedite the Keystone XL pipeline. Number two, be willing to sell the $13 trillion of oil sands. Number three, I would use the Canadian troopers to really shut down the northern border. It's just non-negotiable. The advice I would give is I'd say, look, we are going to help secure this border, America, so you no longer have terrorists flowing across the border. That's the advice that I would give. Here's my also public advice, for whatever it's worth. I think that all of our attention needs to be on the Mexican drug cartels and the Chinese Communist Party. We should tariff Mexico for harboring cartels. We should tariff China for obvious reasons. Those are the two. In fact, I think we should bring Canada closer to us to go after the Mexican drug cartels. The Mexican drug cartels have done enormous damage to our country. That is my advice. Thanks so much for being a member, man. Thanks. Really appreciate it.
I'm into that. Thanks, Charlie.
Okay, email me, freedom@charliekirk.com, and becoming a member helps us out. You can listen to all the episodes advertiser-free, members.charliekirk.com. It's members.charliekirk.com.